Before streaming, there were Blu-rays. Before Blu-rays, there were DVDs. And before DVDs, there were Laserdiscs. I am a huge Laserdisc fan and a huge Laserdisc collector. I even made a video about getting a brand new Laserdisc player a few years ago that seemed to do pretty well on my channel. And my most prized Laserdisc is, of course, this Laserdisc for Pokemon the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back. This is a very sought-after Laserdisc. This regularly goes for over $400 on eBay. I'm going to show a screenshot of the listings that are up right now as of today. I got it for a lot less than that. I'm super happy for that, but this is still a Laserdisc that people are willing to pay a lot of money for, and makes you wonder why. Well, to start off with, Laserdiscs are collector's items. They were never really bought when they were relevant by just casual movie fans. They were almost always purchased by people who are Laserdisc collectors or film collectors or film aficionados. Anybody but casuals, basically. You know, like, you would not have walked into a store and bought a Laserdisc over a VHS back in the 80s and 90s when these things were relevant. This is the only Pokemon Laserdisc that they ever made. And I mean, literally, they made no other Laserdiscs for Pokemon. Like, it was the release of this, and that was it. They never made a compilation for the episodes. They never put any of the other movies on Laserdisc. It was this film, that's it. I am holding in my hand the entire collection of Pokemon ever released on Laserdisc, a complete collection of Pokemon LDs. Yay me. On top of that, this was, as you can see, the Japanese version of the film. This was never released on Laserdisc anywhere else in the world. It was Japan, and that was it, for reasons that I'll get into later in the video. When this released, this was the only way to watch the film in widescreen, the original aspect ratio. This was in the 90s, basically up until the mid-2000s. Most films, when they were put onto home video, were squeezed to fit on the old tube TVs, you know, the big squares. Actually, you can just see behind me, you know, they were supposed to show on that, and they were supposed to fill up the whole screen. Well, Laserdiscs were pretty much the only way, for the most part, that you could reliably get films in widescreen, so you can actually see the film without missing half the picture. Probably the biggest reason that this is sought after is because this is the original unaltered theatrical version of the film. So that means that this does not have the Birth of Mewtwo intro that has been on every Japanese release ever since. It has all of the original animation that has been altered and shown ever since. Like, basically think of what George Lucas did to Star Wars with the special editions. Okay, that's the version that is available now, including everyone that you've ever seen, I guarantee it. The only way to watch the original non-special edition version of the Pokemon the first movie is this Laserdisc. That's it. Even the very first VHSs, as far as I know, had all the alterations and stuff. If you want to see the original, this is it. And that's it. Make sure I'm still recording. I am. Very good. So this Laserdisc was released in Japan on July 18, 1999, which was actually a full 5 months after the VHS release, which probably contributed to its low sales numbers. I mean, most people who wanted to see the movie, even hardcore Pokemon fans in Japan, had already bought the VHS and were probably happy with owning that. There was very little incentive to buy the Laserdisc. There's special features on here, of course, but is it really worth spending that kind of money on buying this? Basically, accounting for inflation, you would have had to spend about $100 US today in order to buy this thing off the shelf. As far as why it never got a North American release, well, again, this released in Japan in mid-1999. The VHS released in North America on March 21st, 2000. The final Laserdisc ever released in 2000. So Laserdiscs were on their way out. They were never really huge here to begin with. Japan was about the only place where it was considered decently relevant. In the US, as far as I remember, it only accounted for about 2% of all home video sales. And I'm sure Warner Brothers looked at that and decided, you know what, not worth it to release a very expensive Laserdisc for a film that probably kids aren't going to be able to afford anyway. So I got this screenshot here from the Laserdisc database, and as you can see, of all the people who are on this website, and it is full of Laserdisc collectors, believe me, this is the go-to place if you collect Laserdisc, only 24 people own this in their collection. And yes, I am one of them. It is a very obscure and rare Laserdisc, and most people who want it aren't willing to pay the price to own it. Which is why I've decided to make this video. I decide, you know what, since I do own it, and a pretty good condition one at that, I'm going to go ahead and show it off to you guys so you guys can see what all it's about. And if you want to own it yourself, there's not really much of a point. This will play in North American Laserdisc players just fine because it is NTSC format, just like VHSs and Blu-rays and that kind of thing. It'll play just fine, but there's no English on this. It's just the Japanese version. And even for Japanese purists who are like, I need to see the original version of this film, you are going to have to go through so many hoops and spend so much money just to play this, and you're probably only going to watch it once. So I'd say it's not really worth it unless you're a hardcore collector like I am. So with that said, let's go ahead and show you what's inside. So let's take a look at the contents of the Laserdisc. As you can see, it has a nice clean image of the Japanese movie poster here on the front, and the back looks like this. Honestly, it's not much different from what your typical home video would look like. Flipping open the cover reveals this foldout. On the left side is a small foreword by Tsunekazu Ishihara, the president of the Pokemon Company. And on the right side, we have a list of every Pokemon episode that aired in Japan up until the day this Laserdisc released, as well as what their original air dates were. Next, it's time to take out all the stuff, and inside we have a big booklet, a page of postcards, and the Laserdisc itself. Booklets like these were common in Laserdiscs, and often included much of what you see here. Lots of screenshots from the movie, some concept art and illustrations that you'd never find anywhere else, and interviews with the directors. I've shot this video at a full 4K resolution, so if you want to pause the video and properly look at everything, hopefully you'll be able to do so without issue. And here are the postcards. The art of them is incredibly high quality, and I have a hard time believing that anyone who bought this Laserdisc back in 1999 actually cut these postcards and used them for mailing purposes. And finally, here is the disc itself. The center image is identical on side A and B, except of course for the number denoting which side is which. And if you wanted to get an idea of exactly how big a Laserdisc is, well, here's my soundtrack CD from Pokemon the first movie, and that's how it stacks on top of it. Laserdiscs are basically the same size as vinyl records. But I know what you really want. You want to watch the movie itself. Obviously, I can't just record the whole thing and post it on YouTube because, well, the copyright bots would just tear my channel apart. But what I've ended up doing is setting up a camera and pointing it at my television, and then flipped the image in post-production, so hopefully that deters the copyright bots at least a little bit. I'm also going to be taking only pieces of the film and showing it to you guys. I really don't know how well this is going to work, but I'm going to show you what I can. So let's go ahead and get into it. So starting out, we've got the usual legal warnings that all home videos come with. After those, the disc plays a short preview of the movie, which I don't think I've ever seen anywhere else. Then it plays the attached short film Pikachu's Vacation, maintaining the short's proper original 4:3 aspect ratio. After that, it hops straight into the main film, changing from full screen to widescreen. The only downside to Laserdiscs is that the letterboxing is baked into the picture, so you lose some quality, but that was the compromise to analog video. Of course, the whole appeal of this particular Laserdisc is that it's the original unaltered version of the film, so this is exactly what Japanese audiences saw in theaters in 1998, 25 years ago. As I said, I had to make compromises to record this, so sorry that the quality isn't the greatest. However, I am showing some clips on screen now of some of the differences to the film that I guarantee you haven't seen any other time watching it. The animation is a lot more simplistic, crude even, and definitely feels like an extended TV episode rather than a full-blown movie. Anyway, when the movie ends, a trailer for Pokemon 2000 plays, which I have directly captured and uploaded to the Internet Archive if anyone wants to see it in its full standard definition glory. After that, there's this interview with the film's directors, where they talk about making the movie. And this is extra special because this is one of the few times that members of the Pokemon anime have publicly talked about the anime's creative process. It's all in Japanese, of course, and the whole movie has no subtitles whatsoever, so if you don't understand Japanese, this whole thing is probably just a waste of time. But for Pokemon fans like me, this is a great special feature that I wish they had kept doing for other movies, and especially had offered an English translation for us to enjoy. Alas, it's stuck on this Japanese Laserdisc, and will likely never be available any other way. And if you're wondering where the film cuts before you have to flip sides, here it is. It just fades out on that scene, and the disc ends. Then you have to manually flip the disc over, and it begins exactly where the film left off on the other side. And that is the Laserdisc for Pokemon the first movie. I am very happy to hold a complete Laserdisc Pokemon collection in my hand, small as it is. I love Laserdiscs, I love Pokemon, so I had to get this, right? I've actually had this for quite some time, but that's a story for another day. I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like and a comment if you found this interesting. And that'll pretty much bring this video to an end. Thanks everyone for watching, and stay tuned for more.